Alright, hello everybody and welcome to Skrrt Garage. And yes, in today's video, what I'm going to try to do is take this base Carrera here and we're gonna try to make this thing sound like a modern GT3 Porsche. And by that I mean a howling, wailing, high revving, just kind of motorsport sounding 911. And I know that's a little bit misleading here, guys, because this is a 3.4 liter flat six and the more modern GT3s are 3.8 liters or 4 liters. And so this is going to be a little bit different in design and architecture from this motor to the current ones. But the ethos, the kind of the feeling of that howling flat six is what I'm going for here. And I did some research and I found that if you change the headers and if you change the exhaust system, you can really make this thing scream, and you can also make it maintain a fun, I guess, daily driving livability sense as well. So that's what we're going to try to do today. We're going to try to change the character of this car with those two exhaust components. So what I'm going to do is get you up in the air. I'm going to show this car, show the two exhaust components on the car installed. I'll do before and after clips, and I'll have, of course, some driving footage inside and outside of the car. I cannot wait to get this started, so without further ado, let's go. Okay guys, we are now going to jump underneath the car and take a look at a few of the exhaust changes we did. First off, I'm going to try to orientate you guys just a little bit. If you've never been under a Porsche, this is a flat six, and what that means is that the engines, the pistons, they're not going in a V, they're not going straight up and down, they're horizontal. And because of that, the engine itself is kind of unique. You don't really see this in any cars besides Porsche. The exhaust system is really pretty cool. You can see right here, here is the horizontally opposed cylinder block, and you can see the exhaust header coming straight down. As it comes down, it kind of comes across here. The merge is right there. Then it runs into the catalytic converter. It does this kind of funky X, and because that one's going way off to the other side, I will show you this one coming back to me. The X comes back and it goes into the base of the muffler right here. Once it goes to the base of the muffler, it runs back and then it comes back up on top, and here comes the exhaust tip coming out of the car. So let's talk about the Catback exhaust system that we put on so far. So essentially, this system begins right here. And this is a Billy Boat exhaust system, and I think it's what I would call a very mature exhaust system. It is not obtrusive at all. It definitely lowers the octave on the way that the exhaust sounds. It definitely has a more fruity kind of growl to it all the way throughout the rev range. Very, very nice system. If you want something that's a little bit louder but not out of control, highly recommend them. I have nothing but good things to say. It doesn't drone. It doesn't have any weirdness going on inside the cabin. So very, very nice piece. And what I'm going to do now is show you guys a few exhaust clips of what that sounds like from stock to now this Billy Boat. Okay, now we're gonna take a look at a little bit further up the chain here. We're gonna go to the headers themselves. So these are the headers, and if you look up there, you can actually see where the flange connects to the cylinder head. And it was really, really easy installing this piece because it starts here and it ends right there. So it's a really short header, and obviously there's nothing blocking it. And honestly, if you look at the bottom of the car, the lowest connecting piece is the header. I mean, obviously the suspension is lower, but it's very, very accessible. You don't have to take anything off to get to it, which is amazing. It has 6 little bolts up there that hold it into place, and it's really easy. You I guess take those bolts off, put a new gasket on and slap it on. Same here, you put a new gasket on and put this on, and it's on. So let's talk about this. Initially, guys, I thought that it was gonna be out of control loud, and it really is not. But before I give you my own opinion, let's actually see how this header sounds now on the car. Okay, taking off. What strikes me the most interesting is just how quiet and livable this whole platform is. It's really quite interesting because honestly, when you think about headers, when you think about a catback and then combining them, you just think it's gonna be extremely loud, or at least I did. And honestly, guys, if I had somebody sitting here with me, they wouldn't even know that this isn't stock. Like, it sounds very stock. Even on the takeoff, like, this is normal driving, and it sounds just maybe like a few percent more than what it would stock. However, I'm in second gear now, and I'm gonna lay onto the throttle, and that is where there's a monumental change. So you can listen to this now. Okay guys, now it is time to answer the first question, and that is, does this sound like a GT3? And I'm gonna say yes, and here's why. I know some of you guys are thinking, what are you talking about? It doesn't sound like a 991.2 GT3, and you're right, this doesn't sound like a 991.2 GT3, but you have to remember that this car, the 996 generation, it was the first car or first generation of Porsche model 911 that had a GT3 spec sold in the United States. And more than that, this car sounds identical, if not better, than the original GT3 996 variation, under 7,000 RPM. What's amazing about this exhaust system, guys, is that under load, there is zero rasp. It doesn't sound crazy at all. It just sounds mature. I think honestly, if you put somebody, a true car enthusiast, in this car, they wouldn't even know that it had headers or catback exhaust system on it. They would just think it sounds really, really good. And I think that's a huge positive. And I honestly think that the reason why it doesn't sound out of control is because on this car, the header doesn't incorporate the catalytic converter. And because of that, the catalytic converter does muffle the sound a bit. And I think if you were to take the catalytic converter out, it would be extremely raspy. And right now, this car doesn't sound raspy. It literally sounds just as pure of a sound as it did when it was stock. It's just way louder. And so I think under 7,000 RPM, this car sounds as good, if not a little bit better, than a GT3 996. I do have to acknowledge that the 996 GT3 can rev a little bit higher. And so just the sheer aspect of an engine, you know, at a higher RPM changes frequency. Because this car right now, even, you know, every 500 RPM, it sounds like that flat six is changing frequency. And if you have another 500 RPM, another 1,000 RPM to go, then obviously there'd be another pitch change. And I think that the GT3 does rev like 500 RPM more than this car. And so there is another octave that the GT3 can reach that this car cannot. But again, underneath there, this thing sounds identical to it, if not better. So huge success on my viewpoint from being just a base 996. One other thing I would like to mention, guys, is that there is no check engine light, no funny or stuttering idle. The noise, vibration, and harshness is literally identical to stock. This thing is amazing. It doesn't sound like there's any exhaust modification on the car at all until you're under load, and then you're like, wow, this thing really howls. So anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. But what do you guys think? I'd be really interested to know your thoughts on how this thing sounds. Leave a comment down below, please, and let me know what you think. Love you guys, and we will see you on the next video.